And as they would say at the races, and we're off.
Where's the top of my script?
Your volume's a little low, Trish, so speak loud. Talk to us like you're mad at us.
Shall I just scream?
Sure. Scream and pickle.
I can do that.
There you go.
Please be aware that the first hour and a half of this meeting will be recorded so that we can put it onto our website and podcast. We record in audio only. Feel free to use the podcast on our website along with your big book as a resource if you missed the study portion of the meeting. The study portion is also listed on the website so you can follow along. In accordance with our group conscience, from October of 2023, we will also be posting our podcast onto YouTube. We feel this is an effective way to carry our message to those seeking recovery in Alcoholics Anonymous. Tonight's recap will be starting on page 30 with the line, "Here are some of the methods we have tried," and will end on page 33, "Immune to Alcohol." And then our study will immediately follow that on page 33, "Young People May Be Encouraged," and end on page 35 of "What Is He Thinking?" And do we have any announcements?
Yeah, hi family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and just a slight correction on tonight's recap. It actually starts in the middle of page 31 with "Here are some of the methods we have tried." Yep, and we just talked about it too. So entertainment at its finest. Gratefully serving as your GSR for this group. We will have an upcoming group conscience. I believe it is on, one second, it will be on
March 18th.
March 18th, which is a Monday, 6:30 p.m. Central Time, according to whatever. We'll send out a message. Everybody please watch their emails, because we will be sending out my last GSR report, our financial statement, and the minutes. And if you will take the time to read the minutes in the email, we can probably forego the reading of the minutes by a motion and a vote. So, that being said, grateful you are all here. Last thing, if you decide you like what we have to offer here at Primary Purpose and would like to become a home group member, if you don't have one, we would be happy to have you as a home group member. We also do some Zoom training and so on for those who would like to be of service. And on that note, again, good evening, family. My name is Jamie. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic. Welcome to the Lppbbsg Primary Purpose Big Book Study Group. To prepare for our Big Book study, let's get focused by having a 3-minute moment of silent meditation, followed by our family's fog light.
And I'm a recovered alcoholic. My name is Trish. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to start the meditation in a minute, so please take a moment to get situated.
Please be aware of background noises when you are unmuted, and sharing is to not distract others or yourself. We suggest we all observe proper Zoom etiquette. If you wouldn't do it in a live meeting, please don't do it here. And a friendly reminder that absence of profanity offends no one. Please keep yourself muted during someone else's share, and we will call on you in the order that hands are raised.
From the forward to the first edition of Alcoholics Anonymous. We of Alcoholics Anonymous are many thousands of men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. To show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book and of this group.
For the meditation, some suggestions are: focus on your breath and posture, breathe in God, and breathe out self.
Take this time to reconnect with God. Let the craziness of the day drift away and ask God to help you focus on the study.
And here come the monks, so enjoy your time with God, folks. And please feel free to join us in our family's fog light prayer on your screen in front of you. God, let your love shine through us like a fog light, so that those that are lost, sick, and dying can find your love through us. Amen.
And let's have our secretary's report. Come on in, Nick.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I'm your recovered alcoholic secretary. I've asked Ian to read the recovered statement. We read this notice to explain why many people in this group identify as recovered rather than recovering, and what it exactly means to be a recovered alcoholic. Take it away, Ian.
Recovered. We are not cured of alcoholism. Recovered, but not cured. That presents a conflict to some alcoholics. If we were cured, we would be able to drink responsibly. No, we are not cured. The allergic reaction to alcohol will remain with us for a lifetime, but we have been restored to sanity. That was the problem. The main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than his body. We are now sane where alcohol is concerned. Consequently, we have recovered.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight. We meet every Tuesday starting at about 5:30 p.m. Central Time with the Gerbil Fellowship Cave, where we chatter for an hour before the start of the meeting. Feel free to bring side dishes to share with the buzzards. Our Big Book study starts promptly at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and we ask that you be courteous and ready to begin at the sound of the foghorn. We take our Big Book study seriously, and because of this, chat will be disabled during the study. In the 1940s, when the only elements of sobriety were God, a Big Book, and one recovered alcoholic working with an untreated alcoholic, the success rate was as follows. From the forward to the second edition of Alcoholics Anonymous, page XX, of alcoholics who came to AA and really tried, 50% got sober at once and remained that way. 25% sobered up after some relapse, and the remainder of those who stayed on with AA showed improvement. Can we have a show of hands of people joining us for the first time? and those new to AA. And then the recovered alcoholics. These are potential sponsors. Is there anyone celebrating a milestone this week? Oh, Lynn. Hey, Lynn.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Lynn. I'm an alcoholic. Today I'm celebrating 2 years of sobriety.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
There you go.
If you should require a big book of your own, we have large print editions available that can be sent to you by Buzz and Mail. Delivery time questionable. Please remember to practice our 7th tradition by donating to the group address, Venmo, or PayPal posted in chat and on the screen. Our suggestion is to purchase a big book and take an untreated alcoholic through the program of recovery. Please visit our website posted in chat. Thank you and see you next week.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Anne, and welcome to anyone new, and congratulations, Lynn. From Chapter 2, there is a solution. The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. This is the great news this book carries to those who suffer from alcoholism.
This is an open meeting, and as such, all who have an interest in alcoholism and our program of recovery are welcome. Because this is an open meeting, you need not identify yourself nor your reason for being here if you do not wish to do so. Your anonymity will be protected. We ask that you protect ours.
While this is an open meeting, membership in this group is limited to those who wish to recover from alcoholism and have a desire to stop drinking for good and all. Each member of Alcoholics Anonymous is a potential sponsor of a new member and should clearly recognize the obligations and duties of such a responsibility.
Before we begin our study of the Big Book, last week we reviewed Tradition 11. Tonight, let's take a quick look at Tradition 12. Please refer to page 562 of Alcoholics Anonymous. Come on in, Heather.
Hello, I'm Heather, recovered alcoholic. Tradition 12, the short form. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us the place principles, the 4 personalities. Tradition 12, long form. And finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. So thank you for asking me to do this tonight and to share this. My experience with this tradition, when I'm in meetings, whatever I hear when I'm in meetings, I leave it in the meetings. I don't share about what I hear, what I learn, what I see, who I hear, what they're sharing. When I'm in a meeting, I share my experience. I'm not taking pictures of who's here. I'm not recounting stories and saying this person said this. I believe in having confidence and keeping private your identity, right? I'm willing to share my own stuff, especially if it saves a life, but that's my own stuff and not anybody else's. So I try to keep it to my side of the street. I like to safeguard others because would want my own stuff to be safeguarded as well. And I just stick to the traditions, the principles, and the steps. That's it. That's what I do. Thank you for letting me share tonight.
Thank you, Sassy, and you have done a wonderful job over the last 3 weeks. And next week, we will have a new traditionalist rotating in to be of service for traditions 1, 2, and 3. So again, thank you so much for your service tonight. And now it's time for our weekly segment of That Ain't in the Book. We hear a lot of things said in meetings that can't be reconciled with what the big book and the program actually has to say on this subject. And here's some of those things that we hear in meetings. There are no musts in the program, and Kenny's going to come in and tell us what it says on page 43, the last line of the very last paragraph. Welcome, Kenny.
Good evening, everyone. It says his defense must come from a higher power.
Thank you,
Kenny.
Thank you.
As we study, please make use of the pens, highlighters, and rulers so that you can share this experience with another alcoholic.
Hang on. I need to turn the page. In order for us to stay focused as we study the Big Book, we use the Big Book Study Guide prepared by Joe, Charlie, and Krusty Cliff of the Dallas Primary Purpose Group.
Tonight we're going to start our recap on page 31, which will be read tonight by Zane, followed by our study portion read by Nancy.
After the page is read, we will ask questions from the imaginary podium, starting back where the study portion began on page, I want to say 33, where Nancy begins reading tonight. The answers will be one sentence unless otherwise specified, and multi-part questions are simply one sentence answers split up by commas, semicolons, hyphens, and other fun bits of punctuation.
Basically in English, what that means is we're going to read the material once through, then dissect the information a second time through the question and answer format. Notice how the language in the questions gives us a new light in which to consider the study material.
This is important because hearing the question and rereading the content offers a definite way of comprehending the material covered. After we have completed the study, we open up for comment, questions, and observations based on what was just read. If you have spiritual experience with this information, you are free to share. Please keep your share on topic and under 5 minutes. At the 5-minute mark, Trish will hold up a little puppy and let you know that your time is up.
However, Big Book study is not therapy. Should you begin sharing on topics which are more appropriately discussed in a different setting, for example, with your sponsor, please do not be offended when we cut that conversation short and send the buzzards nipping at your heels. For that purpose, we have fellowship meetings before and after our study time.
You can never go wrong by commenting on the pages studied, which brings us to the words of one of the co-founders of Alcoholics Anonymous. Sobriety, freedom from alcohol, through the teaching and practice of the 12 steps, is the sole purpose of any Alcoholics Anonymous group.
And before we get started, let's take a look at how we got here, because we didn't just randomly open the page and say, hey, let's read page 33 tonight. This study started in January of 2020, and like most other meetings, closed down during COVID and then reopened first as hybrid and then slowly morphed into being a Zoom-only meeting. And, you know, we've been going strong ever since. And we read, starting on the cover page of our book, all the way through page 164, through this question and answer format. We usually do about a page and a half or 2 pages each week during our study. We visit the spiritual experience 3 times as a part of the study. And then after we get to page 164, we also include Dr. Bob's Nightmare, 2 weeks on the traditions, and then 1 more week on the spiritual experience all by itself, just so that we can hit those important chapters as well. And then when we get to the end, we go all the way back to the beginning. So we are in our third season, third time through the book, in our fourth year of being a meeting. And, every time I come, I learn a little bit more, and I hope to see all of you coming back.
Thank you so much. And before Zane comes in to read the recap, we could use 5 or 6 hands raised for those of you who would like to be question answers tonight. It's really simple. There's Nancy, right on time. Welcome, Organic Pickle. And Nick and Kenny, just a couple of more if you will. And go ahead and come on in, Zane. Welcome, my friend.
Zane, alcoholic, and start reading. Here are some of the methods we have tried. Drinking beer only, limiting the number of drinks, never drinking alone, never drinking in the morning, drinking only at home, never drinking in the house, never drinking during business hours, drinking only at parties, switching from scotch to brandy, drinking only natural wines, agreeing to resign if ever drunk on the job, taking a trip, not taking a trip, swearing off it forever, with or without a solenoid, taking more physical exercise, reading inspirational books, going to health farms and sanitariums, accepting voluntary commitments to asylums. We could increase the list to ad infinitum. We do not like to pronounce any individual as alcoholic, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. Step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. Try it more than once. It will not take you long to decide whether you have it will not take you long to decide if you are honest with yourself about it. It may be worth a bad case of the jitters if you get a full knowledge of your condition. Though there is no way of proving it, we believe that early in our drinking careers, most of us could have stopped drinking, but the difficulty is that few alcoholics have enough desire to stop while there is yet time. We have heard of a few instances where people who showed definite signs of alcoholism were able to stop for a long period of time because of an overpowering.
Oh, you muted, Zane.
So a man of 30 was doing a great deal of spree drinking. He was very nervous in the morning after these bouts and quieted himself with more liquor. He was ambitious to succeed in business, but saw that he would get nowhere if he drank at all. Once he started, he had no control whatever. He made up his mind that until he'd been successful in business and had retired, he would not touch another drop. An exceptional man, he remained bone dry for 25 years and retired at the age of 55. After a successful and happy business career, then he fell victim to belief, which practically every alcoholic has, that his long period of sobriety and self-discipline had qualified him to drink as other men. Out came the carpet slippers in a bottle. In 2 months, he was in hospital, puzzled and humiliated. He tried to regulate his drinking for a while, making several trips to the hospital meantime. Then gathered all his forces. He attempted to stop altogether and found he could not. Every means of solving his problem, which money could buy, was at his disposal. Every attempt failed. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces quickly and was dead within 4 years. This case contains a powerful lesson. Most of us have believed that if we remained sober for a long stretch, we could therefore drink normally. But here is a man who at 55 years was found he was just where he'd left off at 30. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in a short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol. Thanks for the opportunity to read.
Thank you, Zane. And Nancy, come in with this week's study, please.
Nancy, alcoholic. Young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they can stop, as he did, on their own willpower. We doubt if many of them can do it, because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twist already acquired, will find he can win out. Several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, had been drinking only a few years, but then found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking 20 years. To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take a quantity some of us have. This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics have turned into a real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years. Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their inability to stop. We, who are familiar with the symptoms, see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young people everywhere, but try and get them to see it. As we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our willpower. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for 1 year. And if he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is a scant chance of success. In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year. Some will be drunk the day after making their resolutions, most of them within a few weeks. For those who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether. We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends on the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not. Many of us felt that we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever. Yet we found it impossible. This is the baffling future of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish. How then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us? The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to alcoholic sufferers, and perhaps to the medical fraternity. So we shall describe some of the mental states that precedes a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? Friends who have risen with him after a spree was brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? The end. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And we're now going to go back to the part where Nancy started reading. For our answer readers, please speak clearly into your microphones, and we'll be reading We're asking the questions from our script by Joe and Charlie and Krusty Cliff. And the answers to each question will be sentence by sentence, coming directly out of this week's study, beginning with the first sentence that Nancy read and ending with that last one she just finished on. So our batting order tonight will be Nancy, Lynn, Nicole, Kenny, and William. So Nancy, you get our first question.
Again, okay?
That is, are young people inclined to believe as he did when he was 30?
Young people may be encouraged by this man's experience to think they can stop as he did on their own willpower.
You. And Lynn, a three-part question. 3 parts, but all one sentence. Will many of the young ones be successful in self-imposed sobriety? Will young folks really want to stop for good and all? And why will they be unable to stop even if they want to?
We doubt if many of them can do it because none will really want to stop, and hardly one of them, because of the peculiar mental twist already acquired, will find he can win out.
Thank you. And Nicole, what did several young men discover?
Several of our crowd, men of 30 or less, had been drinking only a few years, but they found themselves as helpless as those who had been drinking for 20 years.
Thank you. And Kenny, to you, a 2-part question. Does how long a person drinks have much to do with the helplessness of the disease? And does a person have to drink long and hard to become a hopeless alcoholic?
To be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time, nor take the quantities some of us have.
Thank you. And William, what can be said for potential female alcoholics? 2 sentences, please.
This is particularly true of women. Potential female alcoholics often turn into the real thing and are gone beyond recall in a few years.
Thank you. Nancy, back to you. What are certain drinkers astonished to learn?
Certain drinkers who would be greatly insulted if called alcoholics are astonished at their ability to stop.
Inability to stop.
Inability to stop, sorry.
Okay. And Lynn, what will those of us who are familiar with the symptoms of alcoholism see? And finish the paragraph, please.
We who are familiar with the symptoms see large numbers of potential alcoholics among young I got my page stuck. Young people everywhere, but try and get them to see it.
You.
Nicole, could you turn towards your phone a little bit more so we can hear you a little better? Thank you.
Yeah.
Comment. The footnote reads, true when this book was first published, but a 1998 U.S. and Canada membership survey showed about 1/5 of AA were now 30 and under.
Thank you. And Nicole, coming to you, as we look back, what do we believe?
As we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our own willpower.
Thank you. And Kenny, what is the second test to learn in the truth about alcoholism?
If anyone questions whether he has entered into this dangerous area, let him try leaving alcohol for 1 year.
Okay. And William, will the real alcoholic be successful?
If he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there's a scant chance of success.
Thank you. Nancy, back to you, a 2-part question. Can we be successful in the early stages of the disease? And what happens to us later on?
In the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later.
Thank you. And Lynn, though a person is able to stop for a period, what may be the cause?
Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may not You may yet be a potential alcoholic.
Thank you. And Nicole, if a person fails the tests, will he probably be interested in the content of this book?
We think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry anything like a year.
And Kenny, even though the real alcoholic may decide to quit for a year, how soon will most of them return to drinking?
Some will be drunk the day after making this resolution. Most of them within a few weeks.
So true. And William, if a person can't drink moderately, what is the question?
For those of us who are unable to drink moderately, the question is how to stop altogether.
Exactly. And Nancy, what are we assuming?
We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop.
Thank you. Lynn, what will determine whether or not a person can quit for good and all on a non-spiritual basis?
Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent to which he has already lost the power to choose whether he will drink or not.
Thank you. And Nicole, what do many of us feel we have?
Many of us felt that we had plenty of character.
You do. And Kenny, what was our tremendous urge?
There was a tremendous urge to cease forever.
Thank you. And how successful were we, William?
Yet we found it impossible.
It was. And Nancy, a two-part question. What is the really baffling feature of chronic alcoholism? And are we, no matter how great the necessity or wish?
This is the baffling future of alcoholism as we know it. This utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how great the necessity or the wish.
Thank you. Lynn, what is the question posed at this point?
How then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us?
Thank you. Nicole, a two-part question. What will be helpful? And do we think we can do better than in helping readers of this book to determine if they are chronic alcoholics?
The experiment of quitting for a period of time will be helpful, but we think we can render an even greater service to alcoholic sufferers and perhaps to the medical fraternity.
Thank you. And Kenny, you also get a two-part question. What will we describe, and why describe the mental?
So we shall describe some of the mental state that precede a relapse into drinking, for obviously this is the crux of the problem.
Thank you. And William, what is the question at this point?
What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experience of the first drink?
And I have a comment. Refer to the first page, to the first paragraph on page 30 for the answer. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove that we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will be able to enjoy and control his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. Persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death.
And our last question, Nancy, in what state are the alcoholic's friends and why? And please read the rest of the paragraph.
Friends who have reasoned with him after a spree which has brought him to the point of divorce or bankruptcy are mystified when he walks directly into a saloon. Why does he? Of what is he thinking? The end.
Thank you, folks.
And everybody can go ahead and remute themselves, and we're not going to open the floor for sharing. If you have experience with the portion of the book that we've just read, please feel free to share. Who is gonna come in first tonight? Comments, questions, observations, anything?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sorry, I was trying to find my raise hand function. Jamie made a comment to the answer to the question, the last question, and the answer was on page 30. But on page 34, that last paragraph, who read it? It was Lynn that read the question. Did you mention where the answer to that question was in the text, or did you comment? I'm sorry.
Page 30.
No.
No?
So the question, how then shall we help our readers to determine their own satisfaction, whether they are one of us? I thought that page 30 was the answer to the question, what sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink?
No, different question. The question that was asked is, what is the question at this point? And the answer was refer to the first paragraph on page 30. So, okay.
Say that question one more time.
It's on page 35. And it says, what is the question at this point? The answer out of the book. What sort of thinking dominates an alcoholic who repeats time after time the desperate experiment of the first drink? The comment was, refer to the first paragraph on page 30 for the answer. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore, it is not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterized by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates of insanity or death. Does that make sense?
Yes, I have that one. That's the one we verified. So going back to page 34, the question that Lynn got, that last paragraph, it says, how then shall we help our readers determine to their own satisfaction whether they are one of us? And my question was, did you make a comment to what page the answer to that question was?
No, we didn't.
Okay, thank you.
No, we didn't.
The question would come in that next sentence of the experiment of quitting for a period of time could be helpful. And that could help someone determine to their own satisfaction whether they're one of us, to set a time frame of how long they're going to quit, and then determining whether or not they actually can or not.
I have the answer to that question. It's the rest of the chapter, because we have 3 more stories. One will be the jaywalker, hypothetical, but it applies. It will be Fred's story and Jim's story, and all three of those will give us the answer to what that one question is. The suggestion is that we find the answer through the rest of the chapter.
Thanks, Jamie. Good questions, Alyssa.
Yes, thank you.
Zane?
Hi, Zane Alcoholic. I might be going back a couple of pages because that recap I read about some of the methods of tried drinking beer only, blah blah blah. I mean, I tried all of that. I used to home brew, so I even tried brewing light beer. I thought that was the answer. I won't black out if I just drink light beer, but that never happened because I just kept on drinking more and more and more until I was. another method I tried was I'll just keep on drinking, and then I'll get more of an immunity to it, so I won't black out and I won't do stupid things. I'll control it like a normal man, but it's just insanity. Yeah, and the quitting for long periods of time. When my first wife got pregnant with our firstborn, she told me I had to quit drinking, I had to quit drugs, and I had to quit smoking. So I did a struggle. I did it all on my own. Eventually, I mean, there were occasions where I was allowed to drink, like at a hall pass or something, go to a party or something for my birthday. But for the most part, yeah, I did quit for over a year. But yet, then when I started home brewing, it got real bad. I didn't even have to go out. I didn't have to go to the liquor store or anything. I could just drink at home. It was great. But yeah, it wasn't great because, you know, every time I'd crack one open, I would say, I'm just having one. And they're pretty big bottles I was brewing. And she knew that it wasn't just one. But I told myself I'd just have the one or two. But I couldn't stop after having those two. So learning, yeah, from these pages that I am an alcoholic and I can't safely drink alcohol in any shape or form is very important. And I'm glad that I live in the solution today, and that I know that. I know I have the allergy of the body, which means, you know, once I start drinking, I can't stop, and I can't control how much I drink. And the obsession of the mind to pick up that first drink, or to, you know, a drink will fix this, whereas I know now that it doesn't fix it. It might numb it, and I'll forget about it, but then I'll just create more chaos and drama along the way. So life was good to be sober and not to have that problem of drinking anymore. So yeah, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Zane. Good to have you here. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, my name's Tracy. I'm a recovered alcoholic. Yeah, I came in the program when I was 27 and a half. And I thought I was too young. I just kept coming back, got my butt in the seat. Some old timers gave me some good advice, and, you know, like one-line things. Put my butt in the seat, keep coming back. I had a lot to learn, you know, and I got sober finally. I was pregnant at 29, I had you know, and I had to move like 6 hours, 8 hours away from where I was in a mining town, to just get away from it, because I was going crazy. I tried the marijuana maintenance, finally got a sponsor, and I probably would have got a sponsor sooner, but he kept sharing, he didn't sponsor women, from the floor, and so I was a very angry person, you know, so, but I wanted some of what he had, and I was told, you know, and I trusted him instinctively, because when I looked at him, he had like just this white glow about him, and finally, you know, I asked him, and he said, whispered to me, I suppose I'm gonna bloody well have to, aren't I? And he gave me tough love, you know, like nobody had ever done that before. You know, I never allowed it. But I still said to him, you know, I remember going there, and then one day, I said, you know, I'm only 30, you know, so I was going to have big 30. And he goes, oh, what, so you want to go all the way to the end, do you? And I go all the way, or do you want to stop it halfway up the rung and maybe have, you know, a better life? And I kind of thought about it, and I thought, well, no, I don't want to go that far, you know. My first meeting was an Aboriginal rehab, and oh my God, I cried the whole meeting. It was devastating. I never even thought about doing half these things. But yeah, I had 10 years up, went out to a mine to work, and I was sitting there at a Christmas party, and they say you think about it before you do it, but I actually didn't, and I picked this guy's drink up that was sitting next to me, and I took about four gulps, and then I was just like, what are you doing? Packed up my stuff and left the mine the next day and come back home. I hadn't been in meetings for 4 years, you know. Just forgot. I knew I was an alcoholic, but I was the only one that didn't drink, you know. They'd be up the other end drinking, and so I just thought I was too young. So I get that bit, you know. I just thought I had to be like paper bag in the gutter. That I had a long way to go, you know. That I could still keep drinking. That it's fine, you know. I could come back. That's not the case, you know. Those couple of drinks, I realised that I wanted more. You know, just the first mouthful. But I left it and I come back here, and you know, I busted again after my daughter passed away 11 years ago for 2 years. But I hadn't been to meetings for 3 years. Due to a nervous breakdown, I hadn't left the house. I became agoraphobic, so you know, I was lucky I got back in again. And I definitely wasn't young, and the disease picked up right where it left off. You know, I never had a blackout. Well, the whole 2 years was a blackout. You know, and I was lucky to get back to his door, and you know, I don't know, you know, because I live one day at a time. People say, "Oh, how sober are you?" You know, when's your birthday? It's not a biggie to me. Just today is, you know, woke up today, and today's a good day. And thank you, Zane, and thank you, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Pickles. You know, thank you, Zane, for kicking me in the butt today. I haven't been to a meeting for a very long time, you know. Yeah, so anyway, thank you for welcoming me, and thank you for letting me have a chat. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm glad you're here. Jamie.
Good evening, family. My name is Jamie, very grateful recovered alcoholic, and welcome to everyone. Tracy, it's good to see you again, my friend. I'm going to go to this part tonight, but first I want to say I have to remember that chapter 3 is still all about the diagnosis of not your alcoholism, but my alcoholism. Because I am not qualified to diagnose your alcoholism for you. So from the doctor's opinion, through the first 43 pages, it's all about having the information to make the self-diagnosis. And Kenny, you know, it's real interesting. People get sponsors and oftentimes think, my sponsor's gonna keep me sober. Sorry, doesn't work that way. Sponsor only has the ability to share their experience, strength, and hope, and to guide you through the book, but certainly doesn't have the power. And Kenny read to us tonight from That Ain't in the Book. What is? That source must be that power, a higher power, that power greater than ourselves. So, that being said, I'm going to go to right after the test. And in the early days of drinking, we occasionally remained sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. This shows us the progression of the disease. We get worse, we never get better. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may still be a potential alcoholic. You know, part of all of this, because this particular chapter is really about two things: the untreated alcoholism and the mental obsession. And so, if I start thinking about the drink, if I think about the drink long enough, I'm going to start with the world's tiniest shot glass, and then I'm going to say, well, that little shot didn't hurt me at all. But somewhere between the bottom of this one and the bottom of the next one, the allergy is going to kick in, the phenomena of craving is going to kick in, and I'm going to need another and another and another, and then the mental obsession will kick back in, and I'm not thinking about the one that's sitting in front of me. I'm thinking about the fifth or sixth one, or how I'm going to get through the night, or how I'm going to have enough to get through to the next morning. And that's what I'm going to do. So this chapter is all about untreated alcoholism and the mental obsession. I love where it says here, we think few to whom this book will appeal can stay dry for anything like a year. So think about those words. We think to few whom this book will appeal. We can go sit in a meeting with 30 people, and there will probably be only 2 people that pay attention to what the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous has to say about our disease and what we can do about it. There is a huge percentage of people in Alcoholics Anonymous that are not interested in what the message is. I'm here for a court card, I'm here for a wife card, a life card, whatever it may be. But I don't want nothing to do with your program, right? Which brings me to this part. Some will drink the day after making resolutions, most of them after a few weeks. We are assuming, of course, that the reader desires to stop. Now here's a question I really like. Whether such a person can quit upon a non-spiritual basis depends upon the extent which he has already lost the power to choose whether or not he will drink or not. Many of us felt we had plenty of character. There was a tremendous urge to cease forever. So, a couple of little stories here. I got sober in the same club 33 years ago that Art was attending. And we would hang out, we would fellowship, we'd shoot pool and stuff. And after meetings, there would be a group of guys that would say, I know I'm not going to pick up a drink tonight. Well, I can tell you, sitting here before you, I don't know that whether I will or not. I know I don't have one in the house. I believe because I live by a spiritual program that I'm not going to pick up a drink tonight. But I have watched alcoholic after alcoholic make that statement in meetings and do what? Go out and pick up a drink because they kept alcohol in the house for somebody else. Or they stopped by the liquor store on the way home. Maybe they were just going to grab a Coke, but they went to the beer cooler instead. So, the idea of a spiritual program of recovery gives us a much better chance of recovering from the hopeless state of mind and body. But if I'm not willing to entertain that something spiritual needs to happen within myself, I will probably not stay sober. There's going to be a couple of stories we're going to read in the next week or two. Jim's story and Fred's story. And in those stories, there's something that it tells us very important. That while they were dry for a period of time, they failed to enlarge their spiritual life. Oh, no mental defense against the first drink? That sure is what it seems like to me. You know, it doesn't matter how many meetings I go to, 90 in 90 days. I could go to 5 meetings a day. Meetings are helpful because I hear how it works for you. But the truth of the matter is if I don't follow the directions that are laid out in our big book, I will not have the spiritual significant change within myself through developing the relationship with that power greater than myself, which is what ensures my sobriety. I love the way we do this book study, because when we break it down through this question format and we slow it down and we don't sound like we're reading it like a speed infomercial, what happens? We absorb it and we retain it, and we begin to think about what is it they're really telling us. And this is the pathway that the first 100 alcoholics used that was successful. And how many millions have recovered since then from the hopeless state of mind and body? If I follow the pathway that they followed, is there a good chance that I will end up with what they had, no matter what life's conditions have to bring me? I won't have to pick up a drink. Thank you. Grateful you're all here. Now raise your hands, please, please. We got plenty of time.
If I don't get hands on, I'll start picking on people.
Oh, go after them, Trish.
We got 2 hands now. Hi, Jerry.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Terry Pickle Chips, recovered alcoholic. I got a lot out of listening to this tonight, and I know we've read it many times, but a lot of stuff jumped out at me, especially the part that in the comments where Jamie stated that a fifth of recovering alcoholics are under the age of 30. How fabulous. I went to my first AA meeting when I was probably about 27, 28 years old. And I went with a friend because I was curious, and she asked me to go. And I've always knew I was an alcoholic, so that wasn't the problem. The problem is I sat there feeling sorry for those people, because they didn't get to drink and I did. That's how I saw it. I wasn't quite ready to quit, even though my life was already unmanageable. And the effect that alcohol had on my brain was already starting to do push-ups. You know, I was a rager. And I had 2 little kids, and I raged about everything, and I was so miserable, but I didn't get it. I honestly thought that they were just a bunch of people that were trying to sell books. Like some kind of pyramid scheme or something. So my friend that took me just took her 40-year chip. And I think back, you know, when I saw her giving her little speech, you know, I could have done that too. But I just wasn't ready. I needed to spend another 15 years till my life got totally out of control. I had nothing. My life was totally unmanageable. And I can't say I should have done it 15 years earlier, because that wasn't the plan for me. But I just admire these younger people that are able to do it. And I admire the people that let them. Because I know when my older son was 18, he went into his first sober living. And they used to drag the guys to the Fullerton Alano Club, and which was mostly a bunch of old timers, and they were not supportive of these young men. that say, I spilled more beer than you've ever drank, and come back when you're, you know, totally whatever, you know. They were not supportive. And I even went to a couple meetings with the guys, and I saw it for myself. And so I admire, you know, I silently applaud those people that will let the young people, or encourage the young people to get sober. Because it doesn't matter what age we are. I've known people that were 15 that came in here, just as alcoholic as any of the rest of us, and managed to stay sober. So I'm just really proud of them. And something else profound to say, but darn if I can remember what it is. So there's other hands up. I just want to say hi and love you all, and good meeting. Thanks.
Thanks, Terry. Quick note about young people in Alcoholics Anonymous. The numbers are even greater today. In the service structure, we have lots of people 30 and under. There is Tiki Pa and all kinds of other young people in AA and so on, and it is absolutely thriving.
Just a quick shout out to my son Scotty. He'll be 14 in a couple weeks, and he was, I think, 27 or something when he got sober. That was my quick shout.
Thank you.
Hi, William.
Hello, yes. My name is William Alcohol. I just want to say hello to everybody. I came in a little late. But in reading this, what we read today, especially that first paragraph, you know, it came home, and it's a young people, men may be encouraged by this man's experience to think that they can stop, as he did, on their own willpower. We got up in it can't do it because none of them really want to stop, or hardly one of them, because of their peculiar mental twist already acquired, you know, and going back and looking at that paragraph, I was like the same way too, you know. I was like this, you know. You told me something, I said, it may happen to you, but I got it, you know. That stove gonna burn you, William. It's red hot. Don't touch it, it's gonna burn you. Now, so I can rub my hands right over it like that, and it won't even burn me. Say, and this is the part that I went right over my head, that when it was talking about the man of after 55 years of age, retired and had all this stuff and back drinking, like what you call it. And this is the part that I would have missed, you know. Though a robust man at retirement, he went to pieces quickly and was dead. I would have missed that part, dead, you know, because within 4 years, you know. So reading that and looking at that, you know what I mean, I'm thank God that I'm here, you know. And it come back, my mother and father died when I was 2 years of age. So I lived with my aunt, and I have one of my aunts' daughter, who was 82 now, and she shared with me, her father was an alcoholic, and we didn't know what it was. My aunt used to call him lazy. He would lay down on the ground, and when he died, he was vegetating his liver. Nobody knew about AA or nothing like that. You know, but we knew he drank liquor all the time. So she called him lazy. She would beat him with an axe hammer, all kind of stuff, and called him lazy. He would lay on the ground and stuff. So his daughter, his second oldest daughter, she told me, said she went to the doctor when she was like about 38 years of age, and they did a thing on her, did a x-ray of her liver and stuff, and the doctor told her, say, you know, you got the liver of an alcoholic. If you don't stop drinking, you'll be dead in 10 years. And she quit. But she said, She tell me, she called my brother, she said, brother, I don't drink, I drink. I'm like, every night, every other holiday, I'll take a little drink, do this or do that, but she quit. She quit. And anytime I want a spiritual lift, me and her get in these conversations, man, and they just so uplifting all the time, you know. So I don't know what, sometimes just to think about it, I said, maybe they showed her the wrong x-ray because the amount of liquor she told me she was drinking in it, that she didn't drink that much. She takes some wine or this or beer or stuff like that holiday. So I say, oh, what she drinking or what they got her chopped into with somebody for one thing, she never went back to drinking. So when I talk to her, it's very spiritual. And another thing that really caught my eyes is as we look back. Now this whenever I discovered that I was.
You muted, William.
This how I discovered that I was an alcoholic, right? I went to meetings, I thought I had willpower, I had accumulated a lot of materialistic stuff. My mother and father died when I was 2 years old. I thought it was my willpower that I was, all these things that I was coming into my life, I thought it was my willpower. So I thought I could do the same thing with alcohol. So when they started telling me about coming to AA, and I would tell them I got willpower, I could do this, you know. But I tell you, it didn't work. It didn't work. You know, a belly full of alcohol and a head full of AA, though. I began to connect the dots like that. Oh, that's what they talk about. A little thinner. What they call it, sit off the what they call it for more and more and more, you know. And as I began to look back over my life and see, I started drinking at 19 years of age. By the time I was 23, I was cooked. It just didn't stick the fork in me yet, you know. And, you know, because I drank it for effect. You know, I drank it. One make me feel that good, another one make me feel better, another one make me feel better. And a lot of times, it just knocked me down. So definitely, as we look back over, I had gone drinking. My drink was out of control many years. So I drank for 23 years. I started at 19 and I stopped at 42. And I definitely a lot of mental stuff that was done to me, you know. And we was talking about the young people in recovery now, and definitely that's a good thing, you know, to see them get there. But Bill talked about that in the 12 and 12. He said he's sharing his experience, you know. He's in the pioneer time in the 12 and 12 in the first step. He's in the pioneer time. The only people that we would try to get the same was bottom out drunk, you know, people that were straight up off the ground and water beans. But 13 years later, you could say the potential alcoholic with a house, job, 2 cars, and all this materialistic stuff by sharing your experience straight in the home. So they knew they had something good, you know, and ever since that, full self program and taking off everywhere, you know. But I'm so happy that I came into alcohol. God seemed fit to bring me to AA because I didn't know anything about alcoholism. I didn't think I had it. You know what I mean? Because on the outside with the materialistic stuff, I could have that, but on the inside, I was suicidal, you know, no self-esteem, very sensitive, very angry person, you know. Today, I'm a little bit better, you know. So I keep coming. More will be revealed. So thank you.
Thank you, William. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa. I'm an alcoholic. I'm probably going to be all over the place. I'm really nervous. When I was younger, you know, I was in and out of AA, and the biggest thing with me I can remember my first meetings was, oh, that didn't happen to me. I'm not like that. I'm unique, you know. Well, you know, the years went on, and those things I heard that happened to other people, they started happening. And so the thing with me too also was, you know, I could stop. I didn't stop for me. I stopped for people and my family and my kids, and I think, and that type of thinking really, it didn't do me any good, you know. you know, because I had someone in my life who's still in my life, is in treatment right now, and I think our diseases really messed with each other through the years, and I'm starting to see that now, and like I'd look at him, and I don't drink like that. I stopped for 3 months. I could stop for 6 months. I stopped for a year, and you know, like I said, we just were. The diseases were just going back and forth with each other. It was just, it's crazy. And you know, the past couple years, I've been doing big book meetings and listening and learning, and you know, and I never did that before. I'm really learning a lot, and the thinking, and you know, even sober 6 months and a year, and that's why I couldn't stay stopped up here. You know, it isn't about the stop the drink. That's just the end. It's what's going on up here, and the distorted thinking, and I enjoy this meeting, how you're breaking it down. I need that. And to go back over it. Because like I said, I get very nervous speaking, and I won't even remember anything I said probably. But you know, I'm going through the last paragraph right now. You know, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm starting to understand the thinking and how distorted it is. But at the same time, I'm asking myself, why did he do that? You know, what was he thinking? And I know this, you know, and it's just like that crazy thinking, like, and you know, he's supposed to be coming home Friday. I'm worried. You know, we're still upset, and it's just, I'm kind of struggling with it. We're going to be having a Zoom meeting with the counselors tomorrow, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. But, you know, if anybody has any suggestions, I know what I think I should be doing is just stay in my own lane and give it to God. And I'm trying. And so I'm just going to sit back and listen some more. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa. You can always hang out with us after the meeting as well, because we stay for a while afterwards. Good night, thing. And our very own organic pickle, come on in.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lynn. I'm Organic Pickle. You know, I'm just reflecting back on a lot. I went backwards to the recap, and there's something that it said here, but the difficulty is that few alcoholics have enough desire to stop while there is yet time. And I underline that because health-wise, my health started to deteriorate probably 15 years into my drinking career, so to speak. And for the last 10 years, prior to me getting sober, the progression became quite evident. I had gone to a specialist, a neurologist, and I went to a ton of specialists because my health issues were all non-related, but alcoholism certainly inflated the effects of all of those. And I did go to one doctor. She had zero bedside manner, and I think it was William talking about the ultrasound test they do of your liver. They give you a score on a scale of 1 to 4. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. But I was sitting there at the 2, which is yeah, there's some junk going on with your liver, but nothing too bad. And then it crossed into the 3, which is, yeah, going into 3 was a problem for me to have full-blown cirrhosis of the liver. And I had started creeping towards the middle of the 3, and she just said, well, you just gotta stop drinking today. No more alcohol, ever, ever, ever. And what that sentence said is, but I still thought I had time. You know, I wasn't ready to say, I'm never gonna drink again. At the time, I didn't really think I was an alcoholic because everybody told me I wasn't. And I knew nothing about AA, so, but long story short, you know, now that I know I'm an alcoholic, I have no problem having those words roll off my tongue. You know, yeah, I'm an alcoholic, and a lot of the stuff in the chapter is, are we really an alcoholic? Are we not? You know, part of me says it doesn't matter as long as we stay sober and do the program and help others get through this and stay sober, and that's the whole reason for all of it. So now I'm babbling, but that's all I have to say. I'll talk to you next week, I hope.
Excellent, good to see you. Larry.
Tap your screen and highlight it, Larry, so your mic comes up at the bottom of the screen, and then you can unmute.
Trish, can you unmute him by chance?
Send him a cue, Trish.
I send him a cue. Well, I'll let.
Send him a cue again. It's got to be something with this connection then.
Yeah.
Larry, go out and come back in and reconnect. We'll save you a spot.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in while we're waiting on him. I'm Trish and I'm an alcoholic. And, you know, I was one of those young people when I came in. But I couldn't use that as an excuse to try to convince myself I wasn't an alcoholic, because the friend of mine who brought me to my first meeting was 3 years younger than I was and picking up her 3-year chip that night. But there was a lot of times in those early years that I wasn't convinced, but I had also seen enough of the progression. I had seen enough of the not wanting to drink and drinking anyway. I had seen the trying not to drink for period, never for a year, but trying not to drink for a week at a time, for a month at a time, and it didn't usually work. And so while there may have been some things in the rooms when I came in that I couldn't relate to, that I could easily say, that didn't happen to me, that didn't happen to me, I also knew part of it was just because of age. I couldn't get a DWI when I wasn't driving yet, as an example. But I also saw the progression from this day to that day to the next day, and I knew I was progressing, and I knew it was getting harder and harder to put it down. And, you know, I tried to get sober for a while, I guess on that non-spiritual basis, I was relying more on being of service to others, being of service in my home group, than having that God reliance. And it worked for a while. But without that spiritual reliance on God, I hit a miserable point, and I didn't drink. But I wasn't happy. I was suicidal. I was homicidal. And I had to get that spiritual relationship with my God. Trying to quit for a period of time, it worked for a while, but I always knew the day was going to come that I was going to pick up again. People who had tried to reason with me saying, you sure you're not drinking too much? You sure you're not drinking more? I would listen to them and I'd laugh them off. And then the day came where I was willing to make that phone call, walk into my first meeting. And like I said, she was younger than I was, so I couldn't use that as an excuse to not being here. When I honestly got down to it, and I looked at my drinking, and I knew what the progression was, I knew where I was going, even before listening to other people in the rooms. And while I tried really hard in the beginning to convince myself I didn't need to be here, I knew that I deserved to be sitting in that seat just as much as anybody else, regardless of what my age was, even though people said, are you sure because you're so young? But I learned quickly on that age really didn't have anything to do with it. It was based on what I drank, how I drank, why I drank, hitting that allergy. And it says in the book in the part we read, to be gravely affected, one does not necessarily have to drink a long time nor take the quantities some of us have. And I thank God that I was directed into these rooms than I was. And I am very well aware if my ears hadn't been opened at that point, if I hadn't been willing to take a look at it at that point, then my story could have been drastically different. Hi, Larry.
Hi. Is it my time?
It is your time.
All right. Well, sorry I was late. I had other prior commitments, but I wish that I could have gotten all of Jamie's share, because I don't want to share some of the same points he did. But when I first came into Alcoholics Anonymous, I remember sharing when I finally got a sponsor, and it took me a while to get a sponsor. And when we were starting to go over the steps, and we were coming to step 1, and I was sharing how my life was unmanageable, I began to share a lot of things. I began to share how that I made $150,000 a year, but I was too busy drinking and gambling to pay my bills. And I shared all kinds of stuff like that. And I shared how that was, my disease, my drinking, my drugging, everything that I was doing was why my life was unmanageable. And he stopped me. I remember he said, no, that's not what that step means. He said, you're powerless over alcohol. Your unmanageability is, if you're taking this step right, is you need to realize if you're an alcoholic, your unmanageability is this. Do you obsess about drinking, and when you drink, can you stop drinking? And when you're not drinking, do you obsess about drinking? and so that's the unmanageability of your disease and of your life. And I mean, he just completely, changed the whole concept of unmanageability. And I had to look at my life completely different, because, not only was my life unmanageable at that time, before as I came in, because I was at that point still obsessing about alcohol. I was still thinking about alcohol. It was still on my mind after being in Alcoholics Anonymous at that point about 4 months. But before I was drinking every day, and as I was, years before, but when I was just binge drinking, when I was drinking and then not drinking for 3 months. I remember after my binge drinking, as soon as the binge drink was over, I was immediately planning and obsessing my next binge drink. I was immediately planning when it was, when I was going to go out of town, when could I plan a fake conference that really wasn't a conference, so that I could take 3 days off and completely obliterate myself, and drink for 3 or 4 days. And that was my entire life for about 10 years. And so even when I binge drink, I was an alcoholic. I didn't have to drink every day to be an alcoholic. But my disease had progressed, into what it was at that point when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. It was every day. I was drinking so much and taking other things so much, and my tolerance was so high that it was a wonder that I was still alive. But the manageability of my disease was still the same. And so, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter where it starts. When you become an alcoholic, it is you can't stop when you start, and after you stop, you obsess about it, because it is a disease, not only a physical allergy, but is a mental obsession, even when you're not drinking. And that's the unmanageability of our disease. That's why the first step must get done right, 100%. That we have to completely resound in ourselves that we can never drink as normal people again. I'm Larry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Thank you, Larry. So we are about at that point. Jamie, do you want to read our closing, please?
Oh, I do. You like my cowardly lion?
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. Get to the right page here. From page 164, and this is where we find our 12th step prayer. Our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask Him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to Him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then.
Thank you. And here at Primary Purpose, we have a really cool way of closing out our meeting, since we are not in the same room where we can stand up and hold our hands around the table. We're not even in the same time zone. We hold our hands up in the screen, and that's our way of connecting with each other as we pray out. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a moment of silence for those still suffering inside and outside of these rooms, especially those who may die tonight, either because they haven't found their way to us, or because they found their way but they weren't ready, or they didn't want what we had, so they left. So we'll take that moment, and then we'll follow it by the Lord's Prayer. So here's your moment. Thank you. Who brings us from shame to grace if we let Him?
Our Father,
Our Father,
who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom
Thy
come,
kingdom come.
thy will be done,
Be done
on earth as it is in the heavens. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you,
Good night,
folks.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
and we're going to go ahead and shut off the recordings, but those who want to hang out and keep talking can hang out and